Joe Biden has failed this country, and we will never forget it. Here with reaction, former CIA station chief, Fox News contributor Dan Hoffman, Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz, and Fox Nation host Lara Logan. Lara, we'll start with you. Like Dan, like Jason Chaffetz, all of you, to your credit, have been hearing from people now caught behind enemy lines. We can't get an exact number, but the numbers that the administration are giving us, Laura, I am told by almost everybody, are much higher than they're saying. What are you hearing?
Oh, without a doubt, Sean. I mean, day by day, officials who were involved, Americans who were involved in the evacuations, I mean, they kept reaching out to me and saying, like when Biden said there were 7,000, they said, we didn't even have 7,000 people on the tarmac that day. We didn't have 7,000 people in the facilities. We didn't have places to process 7,000. We didn't have facilities to receive them when they landed. I mean, they said it's just not even a fraction of that is actually the real number. And there's a lot buried in there, too, because they weren't letting people in. The gates of that airport were closed, Sean. And when Biden said, we're not leaving anyone behind enemy lines, outside of the airport was all enemy lines. The Taliban controlled it all, except for the Panjshir, where the Afghan president and the Afghan Special Operations Forces and resistance are still fighting now. And what was just so extraordinary is that you could have American women. There was one woman who was 3 months pregnant with a small child. She was at the gates begging for help. It was the third day that she'd been at that gate. I really want people to understand that there were American citizens, approved visa holders, green card holders, you know, a mother with her 3 American children, she and her husband were green card holders, denied access. All of these people were left behind. And the Biden administration's State Department has blocked every effort at every turn. And what I've heard from multiple sources is that they've been going to all the neighboring countries and blocking the refugees, blocking the rescue efforts. They're furious that there's an armada of veterans and concerned Americans who are saying enough is enough, Sean. They're not going to be misrepresented by this administration that does not represent the heart of the American people. And this is a mark of shame that they refuse to carry.
Jason Chaffetz, Joe Biden said he would leave no American behind, and he also promised our allies that we would get them out, too. Not necessarily that they'd come here. We'd get them the hell out of there. Okay. Joe Biden, he didn't act. He didn't move sooner than he could have. He claims, though, that he has leverage here. Jen Psaki claims we have leverage. I argue we don't have any leverage. They have Americans. They're called hostages. Where I grew up, we call them hostages. When we talk about financial aid, where I grew up, we call that ransom. So that's the only option we seem to have. What if it's Mogadishu, Congressman? What if it becomes ISIS beheading people? We have seen those videos. All of us have watched them. I don't urge people at home to see the things all 4 of us have seen.
No, it's inevitable. I think it's probably playing itself out right now. And can you imagine the horror of being a woman with an American passport there in Afghanistan? You heard the President of the United States promise that, you know what, the Taliban is not going to overtake Afghanistan. They have 300,000 people. We have billions of dollars of equipment there and pallets of cash. And he, not only was he wrong, but he lied. And that's why I think July 23rd is going to be that pivotal moment when the Democrats have got to come to the table here and be honest about the principle. The President of the United States lied to the Afghan president. He lied to the American people. He created a facade that wasn't there, and people made life or death decisions about whether or not to depart and leave the country based on what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris told them to do. And it was a death sentence.
Dan Hoffman, you've been in the intelligence community for a long time. One thing that I know for sure from every source, this was not in any way an intelligence failure. My 2-part question. One, do you agree with what people are telling me, that the CIA pulled out like 7 weeks earlier, and that they told Biden in no uncertain terms, and one day I assume these papers will be released and Jason will be giving them to us. Number one, I want to ask you about what they knew when they knew it, and do we have any options here short of the ransom that Joe Biden is kind of telegraphing he's willing to go for?
You know, the CIA still has the same mission that they've always had, which is to detect threats and preempt them before they're visited on our shores. And the mission also includes taking care of our own. You know, nothing says mission not quite accomplished like the 100+ American citizens still sitting on the X inside Afghanistan, and the Afghan SIV holders, including the translator who helped save President Biden, then Senator Biden's life back in 2008 when his Black Hawk helicopter went down. That we don't have an embassy anymore, as you mentioned. We don't have the military capability anymore. I think that the intelligence community, CIA in particular, is going to figure out a way to get there, but it's not going to be the same. We won't have military bases, and we won't have the leverage to extract our people. And I don't think the Taliban needs our money. They've got China, they've got Russia and Pakistan, all benefactors, and they've had relationship with Iran, which has provided the Taliban with material assistance. So we're in a very bad place. We had leverage. We had Bagram Air Base. We had military troops.
Don't.
We had all of that. If we had,
we had leverage.
We had it.
Okay.
If we had, that was our leverage. If we had evacuated our civilians, then when we had the military in country, we'd be fine. But we reversed it instead, and that's the key takeaway I think from the President Biden's conversation with Ghani, which is President Biden realized back then that the Afghan National Army wasn't going to make it. And that was the time to hold and keep our military in country until we got our civilians out.
I want to thank all three of you, not just for being a guest, but for your efforts behind the scenes to help our fellow Americans now behind enemy lines. I know all three of you have done a lot that nobody probably will ever know about. Thank you.